box this morning.
I wish we would get more modifications of the principle. I think that's in the interest of everybody. But to mandate that across the board, one, I don't know what criteria you would put in to mandate it. What would we say in the law? What level of distress qualifies you? How do we prevent you from sort of getting yourself into distress? If it's voluntary, you can control that better. So no, I do not favor that.
So what is the best way to slow the rate of foreclosures and mortgage defaults? Well, joining me now to discuss is Fred Glick, president of U.S. Loans Mortgage and U.S. Spaces, and Chris Thornburg, principal at Beacon Economics. Thanks very much for your time. Fred, I'm wondering why you don't think that reducing the principal is the best way to reduce defaults.
Because the bottom line is we just have to reduce the monthly payment for people to something they can afford. There's no sense in just getting an arbitrary number of X number of dollars and reducing your principal. That's not going to help you make the monthly payment. I'm all for just people getting a good payment that they can cover themselves. We can stop foreclosures, and maybe we tack the principal on or deferred interest, which is commonly known as negative amortization, onto the back of their loan. In 10, 15 years from now, when people sell, the banks could be made whole, as opposed to just cutting it off right now. There's no sense in them losing money.
Chris, lowering the monthly payments, as Fred says, or reducing the principal, which way do you think is the best?
Obviously, if you really want to stop someone from getting foreclosed on, you have to reduce the principal. Look, this New York Fed study had about as much information as if they released a study telling us that the sun rises in the east. It's obvious that being underwater is one of the primary determinants of foreclosures. People are smart. They understand that even if you reduce their principal, they're not really out of the woods, and in the long run, their credit score is going to heal faster than their equity. So realistically, what we've done up to this point in time, this kind of modification plan, was doomed to failure. We've seen the numbers. We know it's not working. Of course, the big question is, how do you go about reducing the principal? As Barney Frank said, that's a very difficult decision to have to make.
Chris, if I'm not wrong, I mean, I know it sounds a little harsh, but I believe that you are in support of foreclosures as a way of actually getting people into homes that they really can afford.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm not for it. That says like somehow or other I'm a proponent of foreclosures. My point is realistically, it's very hard to pick out who's going to get the principal reductions and who's not. And so from that perspective, I'm all for just trying to heal the system as fast as possible. My plan would basically have two parts. One would be to speed the foreclosure process, and two would be to allow people who have one foreclosure but an otherwise clean credit record to go out and get a conventional mortgage to buy a new home. For me, this would try to just clear the system and allow the housing market to stabilize and move forward again at a normal pace.
Fred, would you agree with those measures to try and heal the market, if you like?
Chris makes some good points. The problem is we need jobs so that we can get buyers, so that people can buy these foreclosed houses. Or what do? Do we tear them down? There's some places in this country where the inventory is insane. That's the problem. So we have to go to the root of it, I think. Create the jobs. I've been pushing for something where I'm saying let's do a refinance for somebody who has good income and good credit without an appraisal.
Create the jobs, but that can take a long time. It's not like we snap
I'm kind of going backwards.
If
we're able to refinance people who are underwater a little bit and have 780 credit scores and good income, and they're paying 7.5, and they could be paying 5.5, where they can put $200 a month back into the economy, multiply it by the number of people who are able to do that, that's going to help spur an economy a little bit. But it's still, the inventory is just insane in some places.
Yeah, Chris, you know, I was actually talking to someone earlier today who was saying that they wanted to relocate to another state, but every time they check, almost every day, it seems as if the housing prices are just going down, down, down. So obviously, why would you buy today if you can get it cheaper next week? When is the housing market going to hit bottom?
Well, we've already seen prices hit bottom, come up a little bit, largely due to government policy. You know, realistically, prices have gotten to a level which makes sense again. And so from that perspective, people can start to move back into the market, and we've seen an increase in sales. So we've already moved through that part of the cycle. And let me respond to one thing. Yes, there's massive excess inventory in places like Arizona and Nevada and Florida, but you know what? That inventory is going to be there one way or the other, whether you stop the foreclosure crisis or not. The fact is we built way too many homes during the course of the boom, and now we have to burn off the inventory. There's very little that anybody can do about that. It's a completely separate issue.
Fred and Chris, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you,
We could
Amanda.
go on, indeed. We could go on. Up next, we're going to discuss